Hello, and welcome back to the Nourish with Purpose podcast. It's Bailey, and I hope you're having a great Wednesday or whenever you're listening to today's episode. I truly woke up so fired up to talk about today's topic with you. I truly woke up around 5 a.m. this morning and was like, I need to talk about this. I don't know what it is. I don't know what caused it or what really sparked this in me, but I feel like the topic of weight loss is going to be so ever present in the next few months, especially as we enter the new year. And I'm all about creating a lifestyle, not creating a quick fix. The quick fix is so disgusting to me. I have so many diet programs that I could say so many negative things about because they promise you a quick fix, and then guess what? In 6 months, you look the exact same as you did before you started, and most likely you feel worse. There's one specific diet program that I mention all the time because it really just irks me. And honestly, maybe I should be thanking it because it gives me a lot of my clients because they come to me with horrible digestion, horrible digestive issues. And I actually had one lady tell me that she truly felt better physically before she started the diet program and would rather have all of the weight back that she lost than to feel the way that she does now. Let's let that sink in. If you're wondering what diet program I'm talking about and you want to know the tea, just shoot me a message. I feel like you probably know if you're a longtime listener. There's one that really just sticks out that drives me crazy. But before we get into all of that, I really just wanted to give kind of a little bit of updates, a catch up to not make this episode feel so heavy because I am going to give some brutal, hard truths that you might not want to hear. But as somebody who loves you, I really think it's important that I mention them. Okay, so getting into the catch up for today, I have a story which is a little unsettling, and I feel like I just can't have an episode if I don't give farm updates because maybe not all of you are here to hear about my farm adventures, but yesterday I got a message from our neighbor that there was a coyote. I call it a coyote. Everyone around me says coyote, so you can judge me if I'm wrong, but one on our yard that was checking out our chicken coop. Luckily, our ducks and our chickens were still in the coop. We had not let them out for the day. But that's just a little unsettling. It was like mid-morning, he messaged me and he's like, this coyote was not afraid of vehicles or traffic. He seemed very healthy and then scurried off into the field. And that is something we've actually been waking up hearing cries and like little yips from baby coyotes. And it's just a little unsettling when you wake up in the middle of the night and you hear this like blood-curdling squeal, and it is these animals that are somewhere. It sounds like they're in your backyard, which I know at nighttime I feel like sound travels, but again, a little unsettling. We also had a possum on our yard this week. My friend Katie went outside because she had been living with us the last 4 weeks because she's doing a PA school rotation, and she's like, there's a possum in your driveway. So I don't know. Everything is just so active right now with us living not in the middle of nowhere, but kind of in the middle of nowhere with harvest and all the corn being picked around us. All these animals are having to be like rehomed. They're like, well, we were settled into the cornfield all summer, all spring, summer, and early fall, and now they have to find a new place to live. So a lot of wildlife updates. We also, speaking of our chickens, butchered like 140 to 50 chickens this last Saturday. It was about a 5.5 hour process. And if that sounds very brutal, please know that I do not enjoy the process of it. But what I do enjoy is having access to quality meat, having birds that we've raised on our yard. We fed them food that we trust. We know that there's been nothing funky added to them. They've not been given steroids or hormones or antibiotics or whatever there could be in the chicken that you're getting. That's probably a very unhealthy chicken if you get a full chicken from Tyson or any of those big name brands. So I do love that, and I love that I'm able to also share that with the people around me. We usually try to sell a majority of them just because we can't eat that much, but also it is really nice to be able to give that to somebody else and have them enjoy these birds that we spent 6.5 weeks raising and feeding and taking care of. And they were raised in a very good home and they got super fat and plump. So if you're local to me and you need chickens, we definitely have more that we are willing to sell. But that is just, it's always something. I was actually in this, if you are vegetarian or vegan, you might want to skip past this because it's kind of gross. But as I was gutting the chicken, yes, with my bare hands, the bowels sometimes are full. Even though you take away food early, if you press on their bowels, sometimes poop will like squirt out of their butt. And with being pregnant, I had said, I'm like, I will vomit if we do not take this food away soon, because this last time, half of the chickens had food taken away early and half of them they didn't. And they pooped all over all the time. So we did that this time, but still the first chicken, I reached my hand and pulled at the guts. I kid you not, projectile poo out of this thing's butthole onto my shirt, onto my leg. I'm like, oh my gosh. So luckily my mom was there and she could clean it up for me. She's like, man, it's been a long time since I've cleaned poop off of you. I'm like, yeah, probably since I was an infant, but it was so gross. And that happened multiple times. Like I had to change my shirt. I had to wipe it off my pants, off my legs multiple times, and just absolutely disgusting. Luckily, I was able to keep everything down, even though it was gross. I was able to handle it, but that is just some of the things that you don't think about, and you might not know if you've never raised or butchered animals, is that even if they're dead, they can still poop on you. So TMI, disgusting, but I like to be transparent, and that was just something I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to share about this because it's just so sick. But again, we have high quality meat that we get to enjoy now for the next year, a freezer full, which is always incredible. And I think that's something that I try to tell clients if they feel like, meat is really expensive, which it is, buy something local to you. I'm not somebody who is really big on the grass-fed and finished beef. I know there's varying opinions in the holistic health space about that. I do buy conventional beef, but I get it from somebody that I know has raised it, somebody that I know is taking care of this animal, and then it goes to a processor that I trust of what they're putting in the meat to season it, or they also just don't season it at all. That is how I approach. So we typically get 1/4 of a cow, which we're going to have to increase because we go through it so fast. Every year, we kind of split that with my parents. I say every year loosely. We're doing that. We did that last year and we're doing it again this year. We also got half a pig, which we should have gotten a full pig. I had no idea how much meat we would get. And we, again, went through that really quickly. And then we raise chickens twice a year. And that's been the last 2 summers. And so we typically have full, ready to roast chickens in our freezer and accessible all the time. Those are 3 things that have made, honestly, eating enough protein so much easier because we have access to it in our freezer all year round. And I know that that's not possible for everyone. The cost initially is a chunk. I mean, I think for 1/4 of a cow, we spent over $700 on it. I'm not saying it's cheap, but if you do the math of like going to the grocery store and paying, I don't know, $5 to $6 for a pound of beef, it really does add up when you're able to get an abundance for an entire year. The supply truly does last us almost a full year. Again, we're going to have to increase how much we get, but that is a way that you can keep costs low. Also, if you know somebody around you who's raising animals in a way that you really appreciate, like with our chickens, we feed them a Carenza blend, and it's kind of part of the project that we did to get these chickens off of the grant. But again, they're raised in a good environment. They're taken care of. One broke its leg, and I truly fed it Greek yogurt and electrolytes just to keep that sucker going. Sad ending to that story, but not to say that I don't care and genuinely care about these animals, because I do. So find somebody, again, that even if you're not a meat eater or if you don't love the process of how animals are maybe taken care of, find somebody local to you that you do appreciate how they're handling it, because I think there can be a big difference in quality just based off of the care of those animals. Long spiel about my chickens, but I love them, so I have to talk about them sometimes. Moving on to something that is more client focused related, but I really just have been so big on expressing gratitude, and I wanted to express gratitude on the podcast because I truly have been given the most incredible clients as I've launched my Rebuild program. I cannot even express to you how aligned I feel with these people that are entering my space. I think when I got started with coaching, and this is not saying that anybody isn't aligned, like I love to help anyone and everyone that needs it, but it was like I was willing to help anyone under the sun because I was just trying to build my business and just trying to really make a difference in people's lives. And now I feel like with my first 90 days towards living without chronic pain and inflammation Rebuild program, I have had some incredible women enter the space. And that's not to say past clients haven't been equally as amazing. It's just really fun when I genuinely feel like these people are my friends, which there is obviously a professional balance there. But at the same time, it's people that are at maybe a very similar stage of life that I'm in. And that's just so fun because I get to help, people around me or people that maybe are early on in pregnancy or wanting to get pregnant or maybe are under a lot of stress from college. It's just really fun to have people in their, that similar era of life that I am. And so I just wanted to, express gratitude for that because it's truly just made the last couple of weeks as I've onboarded new clients for that program so darn fun and so rewarding. Another piece kind of coming off of that is pregnancy. I think I get a lot of questions about that right now, just how I'm nourishing my body during pregnancy. A big piece of that program is actually how we nourish your body based off of different conditions, different symptoms, different experiences that your body is going through, pregnancy being one. So that is what's so fun about the program is it's so individualized dietary wise. I think with my previous programs, it's been very focused around just getting the groundwork, just eating a balanced meal. And now because of the use of blood work and the use of body mapping and looking at different emotions that are being stored in your body and how those are coming up as physical symptoms, we've been able to take a very in-depth approach. So with pregnancy, it's something that I have become very passionate about talking about because, again, it's what I'm going through right now. And I think probably the primary question that I get is what eating day to day looks like for me. Truly, I have not felt better. I don't even feel pregnant. And I know there's so much, again, gratitude and humbleness that comes with that because that's not the case for everyone. But I really do feel like it could be. And I know that's controversial and not everybody will agree with that statement. But I notice there are about 3 things that I've done nutritionally that have made the biggest difference, with the primary one being protein intake, especially early on in the morning, which I'm going to touch on when we talk about weight loss as well. Protein should be your best friend, especially when you wake up in the morning, especially if you are pregnant. And so something that I have done is really, really prioritized protein throughout the day. I actually was telling Nathan, it's kind of weird because in your first trimester, you're really hungry. At least I was. I was hungry all the time. I could have eaten on and on and on. And now I feel like in my second trimester, I'm not really that hungry. I eat balanced meals, but there's not a lot of snacking. Most of the time I'll make a coffee in the morning and drink half of it. And I'm just not having that same desire to eat all the time, which is really interesting because I'm just as active. I'm prioritizing movement just the same, but my body just doesn't seem like it needs that same level of calories. And it's just crazy because when you look week to week, this baby is growing. At this week, I think it says it's the size of a cucumber. So the baby is constantly growing. And it's funny because when I lay down at night, I can feel flutters and kind of some pulling and tightness on one side, always on my left side, which is the side where my low back injury is. So I'm this little stinker, but it's totally fine. I'm definitely willing to go and endure through whatever I need to. But again, they're growing, so you'd think you would be hungry all the time, but I'm actually in a wedding this weekend. And I was really worried about the bridesmaid dress because I feel like I noticed my body change a lot not looking necessarily pregnant, just a little bit more pudgy. And I don't say that as in like a negative way. I'm very, very much appreciative of my body, and I don't feel like I have really struggled with body image at all throughout pregnancy, which I'm going to do a whole podcast episode on, because that is something I could not be more thankful for, especially with my history of body dysmorphia and honestly never really appreciating any stage of life that my body was at. Right now, I feel really, really neutral with my body, but that first trimester, I'm like, gosh, like I'm a little worried that this dress will not fit if I'm going to be X amount of weeks by this wedding. But I put on the bridesmaid dress this morning because the wedding is tomorrow. And Nate was like, this does not look bad at all, which I had tried it on earlier this week and I felt like a sausage. And then I tried it on today. I'm like, okay, like I actually don't feel like it looks too bad. Again, the midsection, everything is a little bit tighter, but it's not a bad thing, right? I'm pregnant. Of course, that's what's going to happen. And so yeah, I was just kind of worried that I would maybe gain too much weight or something at this stage of life, or at this stage in my pregnancy, but really everything has been going well. I don't even know what I weigh. I don't know how much weight I've gained. Not something that is a priority for me to weigh myself, because if I feel good and I feel like my skin is clear, I feel like I have energy, I'm still able to move my body, I'm still hungry, I'm prioritizing the right foods and eating the right nutrients or taking the right supplements to support this baby, I just do not care what the scale is. And I think we can get so obsessed over the scale, which again, today's topic being weight loss, we can get so obsessed over the scale. But when you think about it, are you doing everything right? If you can say yes wholeheartedly, knowing I'm doing everything I possibly can to support my body and the scale isn't changing, maybe that's something we need to think about. Maybe your body is actually changing, but the scale and the number on the scale isn't changing. And for me, I think, again, what would it do for me to obsess over how much weight I'm gaining if I am treating my body so well? And that's something I can confidently say. It just doesn't really matter. So I don't know what I weigh. I don't know what I've gained. I know that I feel good and that this pregnancy truly, outside of the 3 weeks where I didn't feel so hot, has been a breeze, which again, I understand I'm saying that very humbly because that's not always the case. Okay, so let's jump into how I'm nourishing my mind, body, and spirit. How I'm nourishing my mind is truly just enjoying listening to podcasts. I've been going for walks with Luna around the Lakeview Park in the town that we live close to, which is also part of how I'm nourishing my body. Listening to different podcasts, two that I love so much. The first one being That's the Point with Kristen and John. Well, Kristen, blanking on her last name, and John. They are hilarious, the best dynamic duo for a podcast, and I honestly just crack up every single time I listen to that podcast. Another one that I'm loving is The Testimony by Lyndon, my friend Lyndon. She's a gem of a human, and I'm so grateful to be able to call her a close friend. She has an incredible podcast all about health and wellness and just gives the best advice, has so much knowledge around what she's talking about. So that has also been one I've been enjoying listening to. So again, how I'm nourishing my body, just going for those walks, even on days when I'm strength training or I feel like I'm pretty active. It's kind of fun to go to a different area, especially with us living in the country and harvest happening around us. There's just a lot of trucks on the road and I don't want to get in their way. I don't want them to have to worry about me being on the road or in their way. So we've been going to town and walking on a trail, and Luna's loved it. She has had a lot of movement this week, and yesterday Nate actually got to go with me for that walk, so it was really fun. And finally, how I'm nourishing my spirit. I'm really just not taking all the little things in life for granted, and this is going to be a roundabout way of me getting to my point here, but I recently got a check in the mail from the supplement company that I order all of my supplements from for myself and also clients. I want to preface this with saying I do not order supplements for clients unless they are doing the foundations not 100% of the time. 90% of the time, they're always doing the foundational things that we talk about, that being water, sleep, nutrition, movement. I will not order you a supplement if I don't see those things being done. Unless like your blood work would come back and it was like, oh wow, they're very, very deficient in iron. Yeah, okay, we need to make some changes there, but that's besides the point. Supplements are never my first step. Even in my rebuild program, we don't talk about supplements until week 9. So, there are so many things that need to be done before supplements. All of that to say, there are some clients that I've ordered supplements for and ordered supplements for myself through this. And the check was for like $146.59. And I remember that number because I'm really trying to express gratitude for everything, like I said, big and small. And I wanted to say with that, there is a reason that the people around you might be pushing a supplement. If you ever look at somebody's page and it's like every other day they're posting about a supplement and a link to a supplement that they love, they are making money off of it. This was a very small drop in the bucket for the 5 people I've ordered supplements for out of all my clients, and I made that much money. So I want you to think about if you really need a supplement or if you are being influenced to get a supplement, and also what that person is making. Because when I looked at that, I'm like, well, gosh, I can see why it's easy for physicians or doctors to push a certain product because they get kickback from it. And this is a drop in the bucket compared to the pharmaceutical industry. The thousands of dollars, I shouldn't say that confidently, but I would assume the money that these doctors or hospitals or clinics or facilities are making off of selling you a medication is absolutely insane. Whereas this is a supplement. This is me, again, 5 people that have ordered maybe 1 to 2 supplements from me. And I made that much money. Like it's interesting. It's really interesting. But anyway, so that is an example of something where I'm like, okay, this money, not expecting it. I'm going to give gratitude for this gift because truly it is. It's something that I didn't feel like I was pushing on somebody. I was not being manipulative about how I got people to buy this. I just wanted people to feel like their bodies were supported. And so getting that, it was like, okay, I need to express gratitude. And I kind of had like is this wrong to express gratitude for financial gain? And I had this conversation with my dad. I mentioned this a few podcast episodes ago. And he's like, why would it be? Like, that is a gift from God. I'm like, yeah, that's right. I would say, and I keep reminding myself, I'm like, if we are not expressing gratitude for the little things, why on earth would we be given more? If you think about that, like if you are talking to, or if you're working with somebody and you just give so much of yourself and they never say, wow, like, thank you so much for making supper for me tonight. Thank you for doing my laundry. Thank you for making the bed this morning. Thinking of maybe being like with a spouse, why would you want to do more for that person if it was like you are giving everything and nothing was being given back in return? And so, like I said, that's a roundabout way of saying gratitude is so crucial, and I will continue to get on my high horse about gratitude because I really think that if we want God to, not saying we have to always express gratitude for God to have any good things happen to us, because he wants to love on us and he loves us so deeply that he doesn't maybe even need the gratitude. But I think it's just an act of respect of thank you for this gift, whatever it is, money, food, a house, a stable relationship, anything. Like, thank you for this gift. And in a return, I really feel like more, or you maybe will recognize more positive things happening around you, even if more things don't just, quote, come to you. I think that act of gratitude, you just start to appreciate and recognize more of the good. So I've definitely been loving that. Whew, that was like a long-winded way of saying how I'm nourishing my spirit. I'm so sorry. I'm feeling so chatty today. But we are going to jump into the bulk of today's episode. Before we do that, if you are liking the podcast, I just ask that you leave a rating or review on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I recently had a new review written on Apple Podcasts, and whoever you are, I can never tell by the username, but thank you, because it truly means so much to me to go on to Apple Podcasts and see a new review and just see what you guys are loving about the podcast, because I love doing this. It's something I do for free every single week, willingly, because I genuinely enjoy it and I enjoy the conversations that come outside of the podcast with those of you who are listening. All right, so getting into weight loss, I wanted to start off by saying how this is a topic that I really don't ever promote within the coaching work that I do. And the reason being that I have never truthfully, tried to lose weight in a healthy way. When I think about, when I went through college and I gained 35 pounds and then I spent 2 years trying to lose the weight in pretty unhealthy patterns, I did lose the weight, right? Like, I can't say that what I did didn't work, because abusing my body and never feeling like I was doing enough, it did cause me to lose weight, right? Because I wasn't even neglecting. I was undernourishing my body, over-exercising my body, tracking calories to an extreme degree, avoiding certain food groups. That is all how I was able to lose weight. So I don't want to come here and say like, oh, I've done all of these things and in such a healthy way I lost weight. I think post-pregnancy is going to be a great way for me to implement the tips that I do recommend to clients about weight loss, but I've never ever promote myself as a weight loss coach because, again, I've never done it in the most healthy manner. That's not to say I don't notice fluctuations in my weight when I do these positive things, or to say that I haven't had clients lose weight while working with them because they've implemented these things. I just don't promote weight loss because it's not something that you can guarantee unless you are, I feel like the fitness industry really likes to be big on weight loss, and I see them going about it in ways that I don't typically recommend, right? Like fat-free, sugar-free foods, because when you are bulking, you want to be eating more than your body needs to enhance muscle growth, and then you cut and you restrict calories. And one way to do that is to eat very crappy quality, low-calorie food. So I have yet to really see somebody in the fitness space promote weight loss in a way where I'm like, yeah, I 100% feel aligned with that. I also am not big on calorie tracking because calories in does equal calories out, right? So if you are wanting to lose weight, being in a calorie deficit will help with that. But there are some foundational things you need to be doing before you just go and jump right into tracking calories and eating 1,200 calories a day like I did for 2 years, because guess what? My skin was not clear. I remember trying different acne products. My hair was falling out in the shower. My nails were super thin. I didn't really feel like I had a ton of energy. There's just things, and honestly, throughout the whole process, I hated my body the whole time. Regardless of what the scale did, I hated my body. So I think it's something that you cannot just look at calories and be like, yes, I'm going to lose weight if I eat X amount of calories, because you also need maintenance calories. You need calories that you can consume that will keep you at a weight that your body is comfortable at. I genuinely believe that our body sometimes gets to a state where it feels comfortable and it wants to hang out there for a while. And emotions play a role that I'm going to talk about as well in the future, or not in the future, but later on in this episode. But I think when we get to a state where, so I'll give myself for an example. There was a point in time when I was under 120 calories, and for me that was really small because I'd never been less than 140 in high school. Again, this was when I was weighing myself, and when that really had a lot of weight on me, was how much I weighed. So I got to that point, and mostly how I noticed this is that I started wearing like size 0 pants. I was a size like 25 or 24 in pants, and again, for my body, that was really, really small. I mean, it is small. I've never been the smallest person in the room, probably, but for me, that felt really like it was pretty tiny. I'm going to tell you, I still hated my body the whole time. I would still try on clothes, and when my clothes then, instead of being too tight, became too big, and nothing actually looked good because I didn't feel like I had body to fill out the clothes, I, again, was frustrated with myself. So it's like, I don't really think the weight you get to matters, but for me then, I noticed when I started to gradually increase the amount of calories I was eating, I stopped gravitating towards low quality foods and avoiding starchy carbohydrates, which I thought were the enemy for me. And why I couldn't lose weight, when I just started actually moving my body for an hour, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and implementing walking versus trying to work out for an hour and a half and then go for a 4-mile walk, or just moving my body way, way too much and not eating enough. when I got into a good balance of eating good food, I noticed that my maintenance calorie intake was a little bit higher than it had been before, right? If I wanted to stay at that weight, I would have had to continue eating way under the amount of calories my body needed to function at a higher level. So I did increase my calorie intake, but I didn't notice negative changes on my body. It's not like I was in such a deficit that then I ate any food, and as a way to protect my body, or as a way for my body to protect itself, I gained a ton of weight, which I've seen happen, especially in, more if you've had those disordered eating habits, had an eating disorder. It is common for when you start to eat more food, your body does store that as fat because it's like, we finally feel safe again. We need to store all this food because we don't know when we'll be getting this amount in the future. So that's kind of like a non-scientific way of explaining that piece. But for me, I gradually increased calories, and now before pregnancy, I felt like my body, although yes, it's going to fluctuate because I live in a location where we have all the seasons. Winter, I typically feel like I gain some weight, and then we get into spring and summer. I go back down because I'm way more active. Again, I'm not weighing myself. I'm solely saying this based off of how my clothes feel. But I felt like my body was sitting in a very comfortable state. I could eat a lot of calories one day and I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, like I gained so much weight or my stomach looked so pudgy, or no, my body just knew what to do with the food. And that is where my body just kind of settled into that weight. It's above the 120 or less, and it's not maybe at the height or at like the 140 that it was in high school when I was really strength training and super active and not eating super well. Kind of somewhere in the middle. And again, I felt really good there. And I see that happen with clients all the time, is when we have historically always been trying to lose weight and you get to a point where you just can't, like your body doesn't want to lose more weight. I think there's two factors that play into that. One is maybe your body is at a state where it feels comfortable, and maybe it does take a little self-acceptance to be like, you know what? I maybe am not at the weight I was at when I was 20 years old, but I feel like my body is being well taken care of, and I'm eating really well, and I'm moving my body, and I'm doing everything that I need to be doing, and my body is still at this weight. I think we almost have to understand and accept that our body feels safe. On the other hand, if that weight where your body cannot lose calories and you try so many things and you claim you're doing everything right and you can't lose weight, I think there's a lot of emotions that are coming into play there that are preventing your body from feeling safe enough to lose the weight. So there's a difference that I see, right? It's your body being at a weight that it feels comfortable, it feels safe, or your body feeling so unsafe at a weight, or so unsafe in your environment or with relationships around you or with the level of stress you're experiencing, that weight doesn't budge because you haven't identified the emotions that are preventing that weight to be lost. Okay, so there are some hard truths that I want to touch on here. And again, I say this out of a place of love. I will not say this doesn't come from a little bit of frustration, because it's things that I hear and I see all the time. I feel like I hear all the time, even from clients I'm not working with. Most of the time, my clients don't bring up weight loss because they truly just don't want to be living in pain or feel uncomfortable, and that is their top priority. But the people outside of that, I hear often, oh my gosh, like I'm doing everything right and I can't lose weight. Some of these hard truths might prove that theory wrong, that you're doing, quote, everything right and you can't lose weight, because in most instances, that's just truly not the case. And again, that comes from a place of love, but you probably are not doing every single thing right. Heck, I'm not doing every single thing right every single day. So it's hard for me to believe that you're doing everything right and you're not losing weight. So again, these hard truths come from a place of love, and they do not come from a place of judgment, just things that I see time and time again. The first one being, if you aren't dedicated to supporting your body a lifestyle, you will constantly be in the cycle of not being enough. So this is my primary issue with the semaglutide injectables like Ozempic, Mounjaro, because you are never getting to the root cause of why you wanted to lose the weight. You are never getting to the root cause of why you have an unhealthy relationship with food. Because if you're able to inject yourself with something that's going to naturally increase the semaglutide production in your body, not naturally, it is not really natural because it's obviously synthetic, but you know what I'm talking about. I don't know. It's a hard conversation to have because some people need those medications, right? Where I have seen this be a fault is when they are not actually acknowledging that they have a very unhealthy relationship with food. When they are able to inject something that makes them not hungry, which makes them undereat, they are never getting to the point of, why did I struggle to overeat in the past? Or why did I feel like I had to restrict and nothing changed in my body? They're not getting to the root cause of that. They're continuing to kind of buy into the narrative that they have to be a certain size or a certain weight in order to be lovable or to love their body or to get praise from the people around them. And again, I'm not saying that is the case for everyone. That is what I have seen in other instances where maybe their whole life they've struggled with weight and they finally get praise and compliments when they are a certain weight, which is what I hate about society, truthfully, is that we put so much of an emphasis on what people look like and complimenting people when they lose weight without having, in most cases, an understanding of what they're doing to lose weight. When I would get compliments about losing weight in the past, I did like it because I always had felt like I was the chubby one, always the heavier person in the friend group. And maybe that was my own brain convincing me that, if it wasn't even true. But it did feel good to be told, wow, you look so good. Little did people know that I was significantly undereating. I needed to have control over my food all the time. And I really, really struggled with almost abusing my body in the sense of over-exercising. Like, people do not see the full picture. And yeah, it's like one thing to be complimented, but if you're not actually appreciating your body and I'm not saying you have to love your body in every stage of life or be obsessed with how you look in every stage of life, but if you're not appreciating the vessel that God has given you to move throughout this life in every season, it's going to be really hard to ever get to a certain weight and feel like it's enough. Okay? Weight loss does not equal self-contentment. It doesn't mean you're going to love every piece of yourself if you get to X amount of weight, if you get back to the weight you were in high school, because it's just not how it works. Most of us, I would say, are conditioned to never have a little bit be enough. If losing a little bit of weight isn't enough, then maybe if I lose a lot of weight, it'll finally be enough. It won't. I've been there. I've done that. It won't be enough. If you are not doing the mindset work that it takes in conjunction with losing weight, you will never be satisfied or happy with your body, regardless of what that scale looks like. You also have to do that internal work, like I've said, to understand why you want to lose X amount of pounds. Okay, so when clients come to me who couldn't lose weight, I've noticed that a lot of the time it's emotions that are tied to weight. So maybe they have had a spouse, and this is a very extreme example, but they have a spouse that has cheated on them in the past, and that was a moment of hurt for them, right? Maybe they went through all the counseling, they did all of the things that they needed to do to mend their relationship, but that woman was still holding on to the fact that at some point she wasn't enough for her husband. I know this is getting very deep, but it's something I've seen happen and play out. Well, okay, so if you're going to continue to, hold on to that resentment and hold on to that frustration with your spouse and continue to not feel like you've been enough or you are enough for them, and maybe they don't give you the validation that you are enough for them, your body probably wants to hold on to the weight because it's a way for your body to cope and feel safe. And that is a very extreme emotion to feel. It's one I cannot speak of from firsthand experience, but I have seen happen of they do everything. I'm telling you, everything. They do diet, they do sleep, they drink more water, they eat high protein. Maybe they even get on a medication and their body doesn't want to lose weight because they're storing so much emotion in different parts of their body. And it's preventing it from being at a point where they really can lose the weight. And that's something where you would have to work with a therapist or somebody outside of me to help with that emotional. I can do, obviously, baseline. I do a lot of understanding where your organs are weak and what emotions are being held in those organs. It's super fascinating work. But again, if you don't feel safe in your relationship, if you don't feel safe in your environment, if you've been hurt in the past and you cannot forgive that person, that is all things that you have to work through. And again, your body you might gain weight as a result. A body under stress you tend to put on weight when you're under extreme amounts of stress. You also tend to not be able to lose weight if you're under extreme amounts of stress. Stress in itself is a whole different conversation, and I have no master on stress. I'm telling you, I am a fairly stressed or like to run fairly stressed as a person. I've been working on that for years and years, but I've not perfected stress or the conversation around it. But I do know that when your body and your cortisol is being affected by stress, or you emotionally are carrying a lot of weight or baggage based off of things happening around you, it's going to be hard for that weight to come off. All right. So as that safety mechanism, a thing to remember is your body might put on weight, even if you're not eating a lot, even if you feel like you're generally not very stressed throughout the day. If there's something very heavy, some trauma, some extreme emotion or life circumstance that has negatively impacted your health or impacted your relationships or impacted your mental health, it will be a factor until you resolve that. And not even resolve, but maybe until you forgive that person or kind of get past the weight that has had on your life. Okay, so number 2 being, if your environment doesn't support your health, it's going to be difficult to ever make those long-term changes. So questions to ask yourself: what foods are in your fridge right now or in your pantry? Are they whole foods? Are they things that would take maybe 20 minutes or more to put together? Or is it a bag of chips and some squeezed cheese that you can just sit in front of the couch and eat in the evenings? There's a difference there. Also, what quality of meat or carbs or fruit and vegetables do you have access to? This is going to be something, not everybody will have access to this at all points in the month. Maybe if finances are tight, I do think if you can't get fresh fruits or vegetables or the highest quality of meat, just increasing protein intake is going to make a difference. It doesn't need to be the highest of quality. Fruits and vegetables, again, if you can't buy fresh, buy frozen. They are very affordable. Heck, I got a bag of peas this last week for 99 cents. Like, you can make it work if you want to make it work. And I don't want to feed into the lie that eating healthy costs more, because I just do not believe that anymore, especially with how expensive I see cereal and chips and crackers becoming that are really crappy for you. I will not continue to feed into eating healthy is expensive, because I don't believe that. I feel like I am able to really manage just the fruits and vegetables in my fridge based off of even seasonally eating or frozen. Like I said, using frozen when I need to make sure that cost stays low. I'm not saying it's cheap. I don't think anything is cheap right now, but it does stay low. And I truly try to stick to mostly whole foods in our fridge, in our pantry. Next thing here, do you live with a spouse who brings junk food into the house or likes to snack late at night? I'm not saying get rid of your spouse or get rid of your roommate, but that's a conversation you two need to have. If you have a certain goal to lose weight and they are bringing things into the house that is preventing you from not even just losing weight, but taking care of your body, they are disrespecting you and they're disrespecting the environment that you're trying to create. Not saying that you have to control or micromanage what the person you live with is consuming, but maybe they can adjust where they store it. If you live with a roommate, maybe they can put it in their room. Or if you have a spouse, maybe you have a top cupboard in your fridge or in your kitchen. That is where they store that. And you know it's out of sight, out of mind. I can't see it. It's not in front of me. I'm not going to gravitate towards it. That is where, again, those conversations need to be had. The last question here is it a safe area to get outside and move your body? Maybe you can get a gym, access to a gym around you if it's not. Or if you don't feel like you're in a safe area to walk, for example, with it being harvest, I don't really feel like it's safe for me to be on the road walking. I drive into town to walk. Little things like that, do they take more effort? Absolutely. But it's about not creating more excuses for why you can't move your body, but understanding how many opportunities you've been given to move your body. Third here is just because you can't lose weight, it does not mean that there is something wrong with you. Now, this is something I've noticed more so with implementing blood work into my practice, is that some people really want to get their labs done to almost confirm that there's something wrong with them, contributing to why they can't lose weight. And I will say there are instances where, maybe there is something going on in your body that we can identify with blood work, right? Maybe you're pre-diabetic. Maybe you have hypothyroidism. Maybe you have insulin resistance. That's all really good to know from blood work. But at the same time, it's almost like that desire to find something wrong so that you can have validation for why something isn't happening. And I'm not saying blood work isn't valuable and isn't a valuable tool, but maybe really you aren't understanding the stress or the role that stress is playing in your life, right? Maybe blood work will not show you, blood work does kind of show levels of stress just based off the organs that are affected, but maybe instead of looking at blood work, you just need to really be honest with yourself around how much stress you're taking on or how many stressors are in your life. Or maybe you need to identify what you need on your plate to avoid snacking late at night, which is something you might still be doing. Or maybe you aren't moving your body for at least 30 minutes every single day. You get home after work and you sit on the couch. That's going to impact why you can't lose weight. And I'm going to go into what I've done and what I recommend to clients for a very realistic and approachable way to lose fat and gain muscle and make these changes long term. But again, you have to be very brutally honest with yourself. If you are like going to your doctor and you're getting your thyroid tested and you're getting your hormones tested and you're like, oh my gosh, everything comes back normal and I still can't lose weight, it's maybe time to have that honest conversation with yourself around why you aren't losing weight. Okay? So I know that might be more harsh, more negative ways to approach the conversation. Hopefully not, but just things, again, that I feel like I hear over and over again. And I want to kind of counteract that and almost give you like a, hey, but are you doing this? We can think, yes, we're doing everything perfect, but again, I'm not doing everything perfect, so I think it's really hard for us to make such a bold claim and not be very brutally honest with ourselves around what we maybe are not doing. Okay, so jumping into things that you can do realistically that I recommend to clients that I have used in my own approach to not just weight loss, but genuinely taking care of your body, gaining muscle, and losing fat. All right. So the first thing that I think is important is that you need to understand calories and macronutrients. So you really want a baseline understanding of how much food you're consuming each day. The calorie amount does matter, in my opinion, for the first, if you're somebody that eats very, repetitive meals, tracking your calorie intake for 1 week is typically what I recommend. Nothing really more than that, because if you don't think it's significantly changing week to week, that's going to give us a baseline of how much you're eating. So you approach that week with not trying to adjust what you're eating to fit a certain calorie goal. I want you to eat just how you normally would be eating, because if you aren't honest with how many calories you're consuming, it makes it really hard for someone like me to then approach that conversation and maybe even find anything wrong with the calorie intake because you really adjusted it based off of knowing you're tracking it and knowing somebody else is going to look at it. Okay, so getting that baseline calorie understanding. Along with this too is how much protein you're eating. So looking at calories, looking at protein intake. So there are some adjustments that I make with clients based off of different dietary recommendations. This could be due to symptoms or conditions or goals or your age. It all plays a factor. Typically, what I've noticed is that you can do higher fat and higher carb, along obviously with higher amounts of protein, eating all your veggies, when you are younger, like pre-menopause. That's because your body is just burning a higher amount of calories day to day. Your metabolism is typically increased or a little bit higher than it would be post-menopause. So I'm thinking more so like under the age of 45. I notice in women and a lot of clients at 45 is kind of the age where you maybe do everything that you had been doing before 45 and it affects you differently after. So that's where I would say you can do that. Again, protein is always going to be a top priority. After menopause, or when you are past the age of 45, I really think doing lower starchy carbs, so not as many breads, pastas, or fats, and higher protein can be beneficial for losing weight. Again, this is just a general statement. This is me just very obviously, like I said, generalizing. This is going to vary based off of your body specifically, your age, your BMI, which I don't even love to use all the time, but can sometimes be helpful, and just how many calories you're consuming day to day. It's all going to be affected based off of you yourself. So I'm not giving you specific advice. This is just very general. Increasing protein, like I've been saying, especially in the morning, 20 to 30 grams of protein for breakfast can really, really help both gain muscle, lose fat, because you're going to notice you're less snacky throughout the rest of the day, especially later on in the evening. If a client comes to me and they're like, I cannot stop snacking late at night, that is when we look at what the timing of their meals is, how many calories they're eating day to day, and throughout the day before they get to that post-supper time, because they're probably not eating enough protein early on in the day, kind of front-loading the day, which is causing them to feel like they need food later on in the evening. So thinking of breakfast as your largest meal of the day, not even largest in calorie-wise, but in protein count. Focus on protein. I do 4 eggs every single morning, a slice of sourdough with some avocado so I get my starchy carb. In my eggs, I'll do fresh cilantro and spinach to get some fiber, and that is what I do most of the time. Again, 4 eggs, not super high amount of protein, but pretty decent amount of protein, for sure getting that 20 to 30 grams, not including anything else that's even on my plate. Next, drinking enough quality water. Quality water means water with minerals. Water from your tap is not giving you, in most instances, the minerals that your body needs to be properly hydrated. And drinking 1/2 ounce per pound body weight. Half your weight in ounces of water every single day. Drinking enough water is going to help your body feel like it's full. And I think this kind of goes back to, I know in like the 90s, early 2000s, there was a big trend of like, drink a full glass of water before you eat so that, you don't eat as much. It's going to curb hunger. Well, I would call BS on that, just because I know that can cause acid reflux, because if you have that much liquid in your stomach and then you eat a meal, you're not going to feel very good. It's going to cause some digestive inflammation. So spreading it out throughout the day. Some different tactics, there are just some different tactics I've used with clients to help kind of spread out water consumption. If that 1/2 ounce per pound body weight feels like a lot right now, just add 10 ounces to what you're drinking. In each week until you get to that goal, add 10 more ounces each day. Okay? Do that for a week, add another 10 ounces. Just gradually increase, because I know that if you're under drinking water significantly, again, water with minerals, it's going to feel like a jolt to your system. You might pee a little bit more than usual if you then try to jump right to that higher amount. Also, getting quality sleep. These are things, you guys, you might be thinking like, yeah, Bailey, we know this. Okay, but are you doing it? Am I doing it? Truthfully, all the time? Probably not. So I know these things might seem basic, but I'm telling you, most people are not doing the foundations right, which is why I created my Rebuild program to help women find this baseline and then grow off of it depending on a variety of factors, and especially what comes back with blood work and deficiencies and all the things. So that's why getting quality sleep, you hear people talk about it, and why you might even be tired of hearing getting quality sleep, because maybe for you, you're not doing it, and it's the one thing that is really impacting your body and your overall health, okay? The reason why sleep is so valuable is because it can impact your food consumption. If you're not going to bed until midnight, chances are between 6 or 7 p.m. when you're eating supper, you're going to want a snack, or you're going to want a drink, or you're going to want a glass of wine before you go to bed to kind of nightcap your evening. And that, again, is adding extra calories into your daily intake, proving to me as a coach that you are not eating enough throughout the day to be full later on into the evening. So getting good sleep, going to bed around that 10 o'clock. As women, you need 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night to feel truly rested. It's going to be crucial that you do that. It also then is affecting your cortisol. Cortisol is something that should spike in the morning, gradually go down throughout the day. Well, if you're somebody who is spending a lot of time on the TV or playing a video game or working out at 9 o'clock at night, your cortisol is very dysregulated. You're going to notice you probably wake up around 2 or 3 to 4 a.m. and you can't go back to sleep. Again, cortisol. Cortisol also impacts your body's ability to lose weight. That is your body's stress response. If your body is under stress, it's going to be so much more difficult for you to lose weight. Along with that, you need to silence your mind in order to reduce stress. So if you think about, gosh, I could not just sit in bed and read before I went to sleep, that would be so boring. We should maybe be thinking about the level of stress that you're carrying day to day that makes reading seem boring. Something that's very slow, very brain numbing, that does not include being on a screen. That should really be an activity that you're doing before bed. Maybe you need to brain dump the 30 minutes before you go to bed so that your brain isn't wandering. But we need to think about habits that we can implement around that sleep schedule to reduce stress so that your body's able to actually get into a state of rest. All right, I've got 2 more things here. This next one being weight training and making movement a part of your day-to-day routine. I will say this, if you are not strength training at least 3 times a week and doing cardio, pretty high intensity cardio 2 times per week, any fluctuation in weight is going to be very difficult. And that is something, I lead exercise classes, but then again, if you come to my exercise classes and you're only coming, let's say you come to all 3 classes both days, that's great. That's 6 exercise classes. I mean, that's a little extreme, but I'm doing it as a teacher, so I can't really say anything negative about it. That's awesome. And I'm so glad you make that a priority. But if you are not moving your body outside of those 2 days, just because you worked out 6 times in 2 days, that doesn't mean that just covers you for the rest of the week. You need to add in another day of strength training. At least 3 days is my recommendation. And if you've worked with me or you're working with me right now, you're going to know I never prioritize movement as the first thing we work on together. I am a certified personal trainer. I have the authority to create plans, programs, give you advice around movement. But again, if you're not drinking water, if you're not sleeping, if you're not eating good food, movement is the least of my concerns. But it's kind of that next progression. If you're like, well, I'm doing all the other things, right? Why can't I? Are you working out? Primarily strength training 3 times a week and moving your body outside of that. When I hear, again, I cannot lose weight, it is always linked to this person not moving their body more than 2 times a week. You need to do it more. And walking, I'm sorry, but walking and biking and running is not going to be enough if you add that on your 3rd day. This is so dependent on who you are because, again, if you're somebody who's not even exercising 1 time a day, this is not me criticizing, this is me just being honest. If you're not doing that, then even moving your body 3 times a week is going to feel very extreme. So for you, you need to take some baby steps. You maybe need to find somebody to work with that can help you maybe take the baby steps to get to that ultimate goal of 5 days total of movement throughout your week. But if you're somebody, like I said, if you're already doing 2 days, you need to add in that 3rd day. If you already have an understanding of weight training and lifting weights, and if you're looking to have a better understanding, go back and listen to the episode I recorded with Stacy because she gave great examples and great entry-level ideas on how to begin strength training. But again, that needs to be done if you want to see changes. And I don't think that movement is everything, but I think especially when it comes to the topic of fat loss, movement is really big because I've even seen this happen in people that I lead an exercise class is since they've been starting to come and exercise, the scale has actually gone up or they've noticed that their pants don't fit how they did before. Well, yeah, you're gaining muscle. Like you should be able to physically tell like, man, my booty's a little bit more plump or my legs aren't so jiggly. And I'm not saying that negatively. Obviously, like that's just kind of the reality. Like when you build muscle, your legs are stronger. They're more firm. Maybe your arms are more firm. I noticed definition. My grandma, she comes to exercise class. I've said this before, but she's 85 and well, her birthday's actually today, but besides the point, she comes to exercise class and I can significantly tell a difference in her arms, like even in her body composition. I haven't asked her if this scale has changed, but you can tell a difference when you are building muscle because that fat loss is happening. Okay, so that is why I say strength training number one should be a priority if it's not right now. If you want to change the composition of your body, not even regarding the scale, if you just want to change the composition, very, very, very important. I see it in the people I work with. I see it in the people that I lead exercise classes with. It does just happen. I'm not saying again that the scale will change. That's where I want you to look at how your clothes feel. Do you put on a dress and you're like, man, I'm not constantly trying to find a dress with sleeves because I like how my arms look. Or maybe when it comes time to buy jeans, you're like, well, man, like these jeans just don't feel so tight in this area of my body. Yeah, because you're building muscle and it's an incredible thing and I just cannot promote it enough. Okay, but reminder on that, movement comes after nutrition. Foundations, water, sleep, and then nutrition, primary focus. If you're not doing that, then movement comes with that or after that, okay? So the most important things that I want you to take away from today's episode is that you have to recognize that your body isn't a machine that can be abused to perform better. In those moments where I was abusing my body to the point because I wanted it to look different, I wanted it to change, I wanted to lose weight, I wanted clothes to feel a certain way, my body didn't perform better in other areas of my life because I was treating it like a machine. I actually saw, some deficiencies in my body, right? Like I said, my hair, my skin, my nails, my energy, because I was trying to treat it like a machine. Your body is not a machine. Your body needs to be treated at a higher standard if you want to see physical changes happen. And that comes by making this a long-term process. Not trying to find every quick fix under the sun just to lose 5 pounds. Because guess what? Your body can fluctuate 3 to 5 pounds every single day. So if you step on the scale one day and you weigh 2 pounds more, your body's just fluctuating because, again, that 3 to 5 pounds is kind of that wiggle room of your body might just do that naturally, not because you're doing anything wrong, just because that's just how it goes throughout the day. If you weigh yourself in the morning, you weigh yourself at night, it's probably, again, going to be a different number. Also, if weight loss has always been your number one goal when it comes to taking care of your body, chances are you're going to suffer from chronic health issues in the future if you haven't already. That is a very extreme and intense statement for me to give. But again, if you are always obsessing over losing weight, if it's something that has been in the back of your mind throughout your entire life, it is going to be impossible to silence that voice if you're not doing the mindset work necessary. But again, you're also going to always be in a state of fluctuating with the trends. Well, now I'm supposed to eat more protein, so I'm going to eat more protein. Well, now protein's not good for me, so I need to back off on the protein. Well, sugar is actually good for me, but now sugar's not good for me if it's this type of sugar. Like, is that not just overwhelming? Like, it's not foundational. And I want that for you. Like, I genuinely want it for you to silence that voice and to stop trying every quick fix under the sun, reel that you see on Instagram of a new way to lose weight, different medication that you can inject to lose weight. I want this to become something that you just want to do because you love your body and you love the vessel that God has given you, not because you're always trying to manipulate and change and finally feel satisfied with what you look like. Because I'm going to remind you, you will never be satisfied with the weight that you're at, regardless of how much you lose, if you're not doing the internal work that it takes to support those changes. If you've not identified your why, if you want to lose weight because of a health concern, absolutely understandable, right? That is your why. If you just want to lose 5 pounds because you have a wedding in a week, it's not healthy. That is not a healthy mindset to always be in. And I found myself in that in high school. Like, oh, well, prom is coming up. Like, maybe I'll just, eat a protein shake for the next lunch, for lunch for the next 2 weeks. Was I happy with myself? Was I doing that out of love and genuine care for my body? No. Did I ever notice a change in what the scale looked like because I did that for 2 weeks? No. Because guess what? I ate later on in the evening because who is satisfied by drinking a protein shake for lunch? No one, because you're not chewing your food. Like, we want to chew food. Food is meant to be enjoyable. It's meant to be enjoyed. Taking care of your body should be an enjoyable process. That's what I do with clients. That's what I prioritize with clients. I'm not ever expecting perfectionism from anyone. I would never expect that from you. You don't need to do everything perfect in order to lose weight, but I think you should be trying to achieve a certain level of excellence in how you're treating your body. And that is where I had a mentor recently discuss with me the difference between perfection and excellence. And it really just opened my eyes and honestly affirmed my approach with people of, you can't get so down on yourself because you maybe gained weight one week, because the next week, if you keep doing what you're doing, you might lose weight. There's somebody that I've worked with for over 6 months now who had just sent me a message. I think they'd struggled to lose weight for a long time. I struggled to know what to tell them to do in full transparency because on paper, they're doing everything really well. Well, this last week, I got a message of like, wow, I feel like my clothes actually fit a little bit different right now. I feel like these pants are comfortable. It's like, yeah, like it just comes with time. And sometimes that's why I say giving yourself 6 months or more, or not even putting an end goal on it or an end date on it, but just being so excited about taking care of yourself is going to make the longest lasting change on your physical appearance. And that is something I wholeheartedly believe, and I could talk about for hours because I'm so passionate about making this not a dreaded experience. Most often when we enter into a diet program, there's so many that I could give examples of. You're never entering from a place of like, man, I want this to be fun. I really just want to fall in love with taking care of myself. Usually you're entering from a state of, I hate my body. I hate myself. I'm so mad at myself for letting myself get to this certain weight or to look this way. Why did this happen? Why did I let this happen? I need any solution that's going to help me lose X amount of pounds before this date. That's how we're entering that. So how can you really expect your body to then make a long-term change because you're entering into a diet program from a state of hatred for yourself? Whereas I want clients to enter into working with me from a state of, there's areas I could be doing better, but I want to fall in love with taking care of myself. And I want to understand how I can optimize my health and do it in the best, most healthy way possible in order to make this feel like a lifestyle. Those are the people I'm aligned with. Those are the people I want in my space. Those are the people I invite in as clients because that is a completely different mindset to be in when it comes to this topic. All right, 2 more things I'm going to mention. You also need to recognize how you are talking to yourself when you walk past a mirror, when you go shopping, when you try on clothes from last year. You have to recognize the patterns or the thoughts that come up into your mind. This again is coming from that place of self-hatred, not wanting to honor your body, but more so tear your body down and just be upset with yourself. You cannot gain 10 pounds by eating one meal out. And I used to believe that. I used to really, really be afraid of eating out when I was, again, in that very toxic headspace because I thought that I would gain so much weight if I ate one meal out. Just like you cannot lose 10 pounds by being consistent with these habits for a week. Everything takes time, and I think what takes the most amount of time is the mindset work behind this. Healing that relationship with food, healing that relationship with your body, understanding the value of your body and how many things it's doing for you without you even having to think about it. The fact that we are able to exist and put so much energy into a job. Meanwhile, as I'm sitting at this desk, my stomach is digesting the food I ate for breakfast. My brain is bringing thoughts into my head. The blood is pumping through my body so that my feet don't go numb while I'm sitting here. It's just absolutely mind-boggling how complex and intentional God made our bodies to be, that when we want to just constantly tear them down, we just don't find any satisfaction from that. And that's why when you look into the mirror, you have to identify what is that repetitive thing that I keep telling myself, like, oh my gosh, your stomach, look at your stomach, it looks disgusting today. If that's coming into your brain every single time you look in the mirror, chances are you're also probably looking into the mirror more often than normal. Again, speaking from personal experience, I'm somebody who still will find myself as I walk through a shop window, if there's like a reflection, I'm going to look at myself in the mirror and be like, oh, Bailey, like, that stomach area like could look a little bit better. I'm guilty of that. And that's obviously pre-pregnancy because now my stomach's going to look how it's going to look. But at the same time, it's like, what are you always nitpicking? Is there one area you're always nitpicking of your body? And what would it look like for you to walk past the mirror and be like, you know what? I'm proud of you today because you ate breakfast in last week, and in years past, you avoided breakfast because you wanted to, be as tiny as possible. That is a huge win. If you're somebody who is just finally eating breakfast, a good quality, high protein breakfast, and in the past you've restricted breakfast, or you restricted yourself to a little granola bar because you wanted to lose weight faster, I want you to celebrate that looking in the mirror and seeing your body change for the better or the worse is a huge win, that you're actually eating breakfast, right? Like complimenting your body and your mind and your habits versus just tearing them down all the time, because it's exhausting. Like I said, it's not making this process enjoyable. It's not making it fulfilling. It's not making it rewarding, because that mind can get so loud and that chatter in your brain can get so loud. And I have so much empathy for women in their 40s through 60s because they grew up in the most toxic diet culture age, I believe. The 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s were super, super negative points in time to be a woman and to be somebody who cared about weight or wanted to lose weight. It was everywhere. It was in every magazine. It was in your face. It was in the jazzercise programs you did. It was in the Weight Watchers that started then. It was in the Nutrisystem and all of these programs that, wow, you can lose 100 pounds in 6 weeks with Nutrisystem. It's like all of these ads, and I'm so, so grateful that the conversation around it has changed, and that honestly, I feel like although as much as I diss the fitness industry, having women get more into strength training and exercise has been a huge, huge benefit for our health. I think mental health especially, because we have to fuel our body to perform at a certain level. And so I'm so glad that the conversation around dieting has really changed over the last 10 years. It's not something that I think has completely gone away, because it's still a narrative I see and I hear. But I do see that a lot among that population of women, and it makes my heart hurt, because you had to go through the most impressionable time of your life being told that your body at the smallest was not small enough. And that's something we have to sit with. And I think we have to really digest and recognize and bring up when we talk to people like myself. If you're getting help with how you eat and how you move your body, or a therapist, like those conversations kind of need to come up or come to the table, because you probably have changed a lot of your eating habits around just not feeling like you were small enough or tiny enough or hadn't lost enough weight or weren't wearing a small enough size. And we really just have to give ourselves the space and the time to heal the mindset piece of this. So I know when I'm talking, there's a lot of things that I mentioned for you to physically do to maybe manipulate your weight or manipulate fat loss or to gain muscle, but we cannot neglect the mind. And I'm going to say that's the most important piece of everything I talked about today, and which is why I'm ending with it, is if you have been in a family or in an environment where weight loss was always the topic of conversation and it was always a focus, maybe you grew up with a mom or a grandma who was always on a diet, I really think you need to open up that conversation with somebody and identify the impact it's had on you, even if you think it hasn't, because that might also be why you're always chasing that smaller size, always trying to lose weight, because you're in that cycle of just not truly believing that you are enough as you are right now. Okay, so I know today was a loaded episode. There's a lot of information. This also probably feels maybe overwhelming if some of these things are habits you're not implementing right now. And I don't just pitch this program to say like, hey, you have something wrong with you, you need to work with me. By no means is that what I'm implying. But if you're like, I'm struggling to figure out what I need, I'm struggling to maybe lose weight or to feel good in my skin, or I'm really struggling to heal my relationship with food, that is the work that I do with clients one-on-one. And I put that out there because it is such intentional and it's such valuable work that I'm able to do with clients, because I'm looking at your whole body. We're looking at blood work, yes. So we're going to identify, is there something metabolically going on that's preventing weight loss? Or is there excess stress? Is there stress that you're storing in different areas of your body that needs supported? And we need to have the conversation around how you view food or what your relationship with your body has been like over the years. We are looking at the full picture, and then we are making changes based off of that at the pace that feels comfortable for you. So Rebuild is the program I run one-on-one with clients. I have a couple spots left open for that program. If it's something you're thinking about, spots will not open again until December at the earliest. And so if you are like, I think I need some support, maybe I need accountability, I highly recommend you check that out. It's going to be in the show notes or the description of today's episode, or you can always just message me directly. I always just set up a free call with you for 30 minutes so we can learn more about each other, learn more about the approach that I take, how I really think this program can benefit you, and we can see if it feels aligned. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and close today's episode in prayer. So dear Lord, just thank you for today. Thank you for whoever is listening to today's episode. And I just ask that they feel a sense of peace come over them. I ask that they're able to get out of the pattern of not feeling like enough, or not feeling like they weigh the right amount, or not accepting their body at the stage of life that it's at, or loving or valuing their body. That they just recognize that this is a vessel that you have given them, that you've created to be so intricate, so complex in the most amazing way. And that although maybe they don't love their body at every season, that they at least appreciate their body at every season and at every change that it experiences. I also just thank you for the space, a platform to just talk so openly about different conversations, and just for the listener and the person who is on the other side that maybe just needs a little boost of encouragement, that they leave today feeling that they feel encouraged and inspired to move forward and take care of themselves, take care of their body, mind, and spirit, and just overall nourish their body well. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, so if you're interested in following along with my life outside of the podcast, you can find me at Nourish with Bailey on Instagram, Bailey CN nearly everywhere else. You can also apply for one-on-one coaching at findyourdivinepurpose.com. Go over to services, click on one-on-one coaching, and you can join the waitlist for my Rebuild program. Again, that is how I will reach out to you to schedule that call, or just schedule an appointment with me, and maybe we can just have that conversation. Again, it's a free 30-minute appointment to see what's going on in your body. All of that can be found on my website. All right, so with that, I will talk to you again next Wednesday. Bye.